by design. Welcome to Throwback Thursday. This is a little weekly series that I do where I reach back into my stash of retired papers and dies and products, and I create something fresh and new. As you can see, I've really dug into an older collection today. This is Ciao Bella's The Sound of Autumn. I don't even have, I don't think, the cover piece. Well, there it is. But it doesn't tell us what year it came out. Ciao Bella is an Italian paper company, and I found them a few years back and just fell in love with their use of color, their images, their patterns. So I bought this collection online. I don't even remember where. I don't even think you can get it anymore. So this is a real throwback. If you have this in your stash, you can work along with me. And if you don't, then you can find a similar autumn collection in that you have, because we're going to make a slimline autumn card. I was feeling kind of nostalgic for the New England woods that I grew up in. We used to go for walks on Sunday afternoons and find all kinds of treasures in the woods. So I was thinking about this earlier today and pulled this beautiful paper out. This is all I have left, but it's really lovely. If you can find it, you can Google it. Sometimes I do that with an older collection. And let me know if you find it. That would be fun. So the base of our card is hold on. I want to say it's an 8.5. Yep, an 8.5 by 8.5 inch square of this brown cardstock. I had this left over from another project that I had worked on, and I just scored it in half at 4 1/4 to make this 4 1/4 by 8.5 inch slimline. Really basic. Then when I lined the inside with my caramel cardstock, I took the little extra piece that was left over from this 8.5 by 11, scored a 1/2 inch flap, and tucked it under this caramel piece before I glued this down. These are all scraps in here that I've pieced together. Some of it I've been able to cover up the piecing with little fussy cuts and things like that. This is a fun idea. This was just a tiny little scrap. This is a great place to write a little message. And then I just kind of tore and cut out the calendars and fussy cut some of the little images and tucked them in there to make it look more organic. And this little pocket is made with a scrap. And then this is just another, I think this was on the cover, but I loved the way it looked. So I put this here. And then this is one of the elements from the creative pack that I cut down to fit in the pocket. I've inked all my edges with Gathered Twigs Distress ink. This little turn page I die cut with a circle. This was in the collection, and then just layered it over. This is left over from cutting the cover. And you're gonna laugh at me. I laughed at myself when it happened. I did put magnets down so that this flap would stay, and then I covered it up with too much paper so the magnets won't catch. So anyway, and there were strong magnets too. I looked in my stash and I found this pretty little copper hinge clip that I had picked up at Tuesday morning in their office supply section. So that will work. Now, we're gonna get down to the fun part. Here comes the cover. And I just stitched this beautiful panel of patterned paper. This is 3 7/8 by probably 8 1/8. And I stitched it onto a 4 by 8 1/4 inch piece of this copper foil cardstock that I found in the Closet of Inspiration and Delight. So I took this kind of, I think this is beautiful, but it's a little dark and it's almost leans toward sad. I'm looking for nostalgic, not sad. I spattered it with some sepia paint, and then I had a hard time picking the image because I had some really cute ones left. But then I found this little mushroom growing in the woods, and that just did it for me. This is Reneabouquets Printed Beautiful board. These are her acorn and oak leaves, and I first just randomly brushed this with the same sepia paint that I spattered with here. And then I came back after it had kind of dried and I brushed it back with a damp paper towel, and I actually came in with one of my little sanding blocks and sanded it just a little bit to expose the edges, just to make it pop a little bit more. It kind of changed the color palette to make it match my paper better, which is one of the things I love about Renee's beautiful board, is that it's very, very alterable. I matted this on a little scrap of the copper, and then I found some pretty cork paper in my stash, and this has adhesive on the back. And I'm also going to put my adhesive on the back because I don't trust most adhesives. So I want to place this toward the top. I want this little bit just like this, just like that, okay? And I put foam dimensionals in between the copper and the cork just to lift this and give it a little more prominence on the page. Then I went into my flowers, and these are Prima. I think these are pumpkin spice, and these are also old, but this color I just thought was so pretty with all of this. It just felt woodsy and quaint and beautiful to me. So I'm going to, and then these are Fruit Paradise, which is a summer collection, but oddly enough, these work really well. So I'm just building my little flower cluster, tucking in and around just like that. Very, very easy. And then I have one sort of mushroom colored one to go up in this corner. Oops, got that hot glue on my finger. There we go. It wasn't like in the cork. All right. I tied a small bow to tuck back behind here. I'm just using the tip of my scissors to set that bow where I want it. And then I found this beautiful seam binding. I'm not sure what color it is, but I really like it with this paper. So it was hanging on my ribbon rack instead of being in my ribbon cart. So I just grabbed it. I'm going to tuck the knot under the leaf. I'm going to push this into place with my scissors, and then I'm going to arrange the bow the way that I want it to go. All right, very good. And then I tied a twine bow to go on top of that. So what I wanted to talk to you about was using found items in your art and your card making. I keep a couple of little plastic shoe boxes. One of my little beads fell off. I'm just going to reattach it. And all kinds of little things that you find when you're out adventuring, and I tuck them in there. And my son also is a woodworker. So I have this sentiment from the paper collection that I have matted onto my cork. And I just want to tuck this. I'm going to lift these a little bit. There we go. All at once, summer collapsed into fall. I find it really hard to make a card without some sort of text on the cover, and maybe that's because I've been a reader all my life, but to me the words help tell the story that you're trying to tell with your products. I'm fussing this bow. I'll come back and mess with that later, but I'm just trying to make sure everything goes the way I want it to. Then my son is a woodworker, and he cut me some slices of oak. And I'm going to put this wood slice, and you can see now all of a sudden we're getting a really great organic feeling on this card. And then I had a couple of little feathers that I wanted to tuck in. See how pretty? And you can buy feathers at the crafts store. They have them in all colors and sizes. If you don't have any feathers in your stash, there, that's pretty. Oops, only it's covering up my words. Try not to burn my fingers on that hot glue. You only do that once or twice before you really pay attention to what you're doing. Hold on. There we go. That's better. All right. Just like that. And then I have some, this is Spanish moss. And I'm just kind of clustering this up. And I'm going to put it right here. This adds another really great texture, and it gives it that walk in the woods feel, like that. So what we're going to do then is take this Reneabouquets butterfly. I'm going to put some hot glue down here, and we're going to set this right here on our wood slice. And I like the brightness that this brings. Everything is sort of dark, so with the flowers I tried to bring in some light, and with the butterfly also some light. Now go into your kitchen, and I have these green peppercorns, and I do this pretty often. I really like this effect. And I'm just going to take some of my Dry's Clear adhesive and place it kind of along the bottom of my butterfly, like that. Here's my funnel tray. And I'm going to put these green peppercorns down here and kind of press them in. All right. And where there are gaps, I'm going to come in with my mustard seeds in the gaps. All right. I'm going to add a little adhesive underneath. Put some behind it. This creates instant depth and dimension. And you have to handle those a little bit carefully until the glue sets up, but then you're okay after that. And I think I want one. I think I want to take my glue. I just come along the forest floor here and dot some on my leaf. You know how sometimes in the fall leaves get those little, well, where I grew up anyway, they got these little weird bumps on them, and they were so neat. So I'm kind of replicating that. It also makes the beautiful board really have an organic feel, which I love. So I'm going to dot a few in up here. And let's see, right here. All right, looks really good. Maybe just a little bit more in there. Yeah. Yeah, I think that looks good. I brought in my card front. My card base. Now we're going to add our card front. I'm still handling mine pretty carefully. Normally I would leave this and I wouldn't glue it into place until everything had kind of set up, but because all those little seeds and peppercorns like to pop off, but I can always glue them back on again. So I'm just going to take my little bone folder here. Press this into place. Wow, this turned out really good. I think fall projects are the prettiest, but then I'm partial to fall. Okay. All right. I'm going to close this. I'm going to bring in my little copper clip. Come right up here in this top corner. And I put some little fall charms on a piece of burlap string. I'm going to thread this through. There we go. So I've got a little acorn, a little pine cone. I thought that would be sweet hanging off the clip, tying a square knot. There we go. And I'm just going to tie a simple little shoestring bow. Chip our tails. And there we go, guys. Throwback Thursday with a really fun botanical autumn. I'm probably going to mess with that bow a little bit. I'm not entirely happy with the way that turned out, but I got to figure it out. So, and I don't want to torture you while I wrestle with that. But that is it for me, Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. If I can find any of these supplies, I will link them on my blog and link to my blog in the description box below. But there we go, a little Sunday afternoon walk in the woods. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to go get my craft done. Bye.